Hello, welcome to this session. So in this session, we'll be talking about color and background. So I've added the CSS file for this project. If you can see here, this is the styles.css. Then as well, I've added the image we'll be using, which is the pg.png. So, and I've as well linked the external style sheet over here. So I'll just go to the CSS file and start styling. So I've already created a h1, h2 and a p tag inside the body tag. So I'll be selecting the h1 tag to explain the color for you. So I'll simply start by typing on color. So if I type color, like I've showed you before, we can use any of these predefined colors that we have here. So if I click on blue, you can see our h1 is blue. So all these blue, green, yellow and the rest are all called predefined color, and they are limited in the amount of color that we are going to be having. So there are other methods to add colors in our CSS, which is the RGB, the HSL, the hexadecimal. So Visual Studio makes doing this very easy for us. We don't need to leave Visual Studio to get this. So as I've written something like color and blue, you can see if I click here, this pop-up comes up. So if you want to use RGB, which simply means combining different colors like red, green and blue. As you can see, we selected blue, then the value is 00255. So if you keep the red 0, then the green 0, then the blue to be 255, we'll be having that color. So that's just it. You can play around with the remaining one and see the color that it's going to bring for you. Then this RGB, you can see that I can come here and select any color I want. I can simply drag this up here, then drag this green up to this level. So you can see that if I'm shifting, I'm getting different color. Then if I want something like yellow, I can draw it here, then flow from here and choose any RGB this thing that I want. So this one is for the RGB. Then in the RGB, there is something called an alpha. So alpha is talking about the opacity, which you can do by using this toggling this up and down. So if I bring this thing down, you can see that the color is getting more and more transparent. If I take it down to this last point, which is supposed to be 0, then you can see that it has disappeared from our screen. So if I click on it here, I can bring it up to like the maximum level, which is supposed to be 1. So if I take it up here, you can see that our alpha is 1. So we have another one which is called the HSL, which stands for hue, saturation and lightness. So I won't recommend you to start cramming different number combination. What you just need to do is, if you get to your Visual Studio, you can just simply use this feature that Visual Studio have to choose the color that you want. Then if I click here again, you can see the HSL. So the HSL is the same way that you do for the RGB. You bring it down, then choose the color that you want. If you want to use the method of hexadecimal, so all you just need to do is to click here. So this hexadecimal starts with the hash sign, 6 digits, which represent the color that you want to choose. So I can simply drag this anywhere. So the most recommended format that people normally use in terms of specifying their color is the hexadecimal and the RGB. That's the most common one. So this is what I wanted to say about color. So let's go over to background image. So we'll be adding background image in this session. So I want to add the background image to the body tag. So let me clean this one and write on body. So for us to add background image to our body, I'll simply type on background image, then I'll write URL. Then the URL, I'll simply write a single quote, then I'll put the path to the image, which is bg.png. you can see that the background image has been inserted in our project. So let's talk about the background repeat. So you can see by default when I apply the background image, because I use a small image for this so that you can actually see the effect of the background repeat. So by default, if there's any available space, your image is going to be repeated to fill up those spaces. So we'll be using another CSS property called background repeat to show this. So in the background repeat, I have different values that I can use. I can use repeat X, repeat Y, then I can also use no repeat. So if I do no repeat, you can see that this is the size of the image. So once it covers here, it's not going to repeat itself. So this is the size of the image. So we have the repeat X and the repeat Y. The repeat X is going to repeat towards the horizontal, and the repeat Y is going to repeat towards the vertical. So if I do repeat X, you can see that the background image repeated only towards the horizontal axis. Then if I do repeat Y, you can see that it's repeated in the Y axis. I can as well do repeat Y, repeat X. You can see that it's repeating both in the vertical and the horizontal, but instead of doing this repeat Y, repeat X, you can simply clear off the repeat property altogether, because by default our image are being repeated towards the vertical and the horizontal. So we'll talk about another one called the background attachment. So for this, I'll be using this property which I haven't explained yet, but I'll still talk about it so that I can show you the effect of the background attachment. So let me just give this a height of 200 VH. So this is our background image. Then let me scroll down and show you what I mean. So if you can see that if I'm scrolling down, just be looking at the background, the image is scrolling up. If I'm scrolling up, you can see that the image is moving. So the background attachment talks about whether the image is going to scroll or not. So if I write a background attachment and put this fixed value, if I'm scrolling down, you can see that the image is fixed where it is. It's not moving. Then I can as well use the background attachment scroll. So if I'm scrolling now, you can see that the background image is as well moving. So let's talk about another CSS property which is called background position. So let me clean this one off. So I've changed the height to 100 on VH. Then I put on background repeat as no repeat so that you can see the effect of what we are doing. So if I come here and write background position, so we are expecting two values. One is for the horizontal and one is for the vertical. So for the horizontal, we are expecting something like either it's going to be left or right. Then for the vertical, it's going to be top or bottom. So you can see by default it's appearing on the top and is appearing on the left hand side. So I can override this by saying right top. So you can see the image is now positioned on the top and also at the right. So if I want this to be on the top and as well be in the middle, so instead of using left or right, I can use center. So you can see that it's now appearing in the center. So you can just play around with different values to see where the image is going to appear. So if you want it to be on the bottom side, you can come here and choose on bottom. Then it can be in the center, it can be in the right, it can be, if you want it to be at the left, you specify left here. So the first one is for the horizontal, then the second one is for the vertical. So if I want it to be in the middle vertically, I can come here and put on center. So if I want it to be in the middle, so I can put on center. So the image is going to be positioned in the middle of so you can see we are writing background image, background repeat, and background position. There's actually a CSS property called background, which is a shortcut that will enable you to fill up all these values without repeating different properties. So I'll simply come here and write so before using the background shortcut, let's talk about the background color because it's very necessary. So if you want to add a plain color as your background, you don't want to use an image. So let me wipe this out. I can use this property called background color. So in the background color, I can select any color I want to use as the background. So this is how to use background color. So I can specify any color here, which is going to be our background color. So all you just need to do is to write background color, then put in the value of the color that you want to use. So let me go ahead and show you how to use the background shortcut. So I've added the background property. You can see I use one line to specify everything. So if you write background, then the first one means the background color, then the second one you're going to enter is the background image, then we'll have the background repeats, background attachment, and the background position. So if I don't want to have a background color, I can simply come here and remove it. You can see I've removed the feature for the background color. So let me bring this thing back. So I want to show you this option. Like you can see I have a background color of blue and I have an image that is very small and I use no repeat. So if I change this no repeat option to like if I remove this no repeat, you can see the image is going to fill up the remaining space. So this property property of background makes it easy for us to put our background without repeating ourselves by writing different lines of code. So see you in our next class.